Hi, everybody. I am here with you today. Let's see. Okay, I'm having a little bit of problems here, so hang out for a second. Okay, what do we have here? I'm so sorry. Here we go. Let's do this. Hold on a second. Okay, what is going on? We can see you guys, but we can't see me. There we are. Okay. This is technology for you. See, this is how it goes sometimes. And all right, here we are. Okay, now we're a three-way screen here. All right. Hi, everyone. Yes, we are finally here. Okay, every time I try this, it gives me a new challenge. And tonight I had another challenge here trying to get on. So thank you for waiting for us. I'm so glad you did because tonight is going to be an amazing night. You see me? Okay, there we are. Hi, everyone. Yes. Okay. So as you can see, we are split screened right now, and I want to introduce you guys to my very special guests. I have Dr. Patrick O'Malley and Kelly, his wife here. They are the owners and founders of our new partners, Lacta Lite. And I brought them on because I wanted to introduce them all to you, first of all. And Dr. Patrick is going to spend the evening with us, sharing all his wisdom and having a wonderful conversation that's going to be so important for all of your babies and your children and for you, so you can be completely prepared and really make sure that you are preventing accidents and injuries from happening. Dr. Patrick is an ER physician, and so he does not want to see you come through the door. We're going to do everything we can tonight to prevent that from happening, and that's the goal. So welcome. Let me just make sure you're unmuted. I have all these. Yes, you guys are unmuted. Welcome, Patrick and Kelly. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, we're thrilled. So everyone's here. Hi, guys. Let's get some hearts going across the screen for my stress of not being able to get live. I deserve some love right now because I'm like, oh, I tried like 4 times. But we're, let's see, everybody's in the room. Okay, so you guys, can you just, before we even get started tonight, they're all giving me hearts because they know I'm having like I'm taking a drink here. I have my watermelon drink tonight. It's not alcoholic, but it is in the fancy glass. And tonight I actually think I probably needed a drink instead.
I got my Diet Mountain Dew right here.
Excellent. Excellent. Can everybody hear us okay? First of all, I want to make sure that the sound is okay. I want to let me hear if you guys can hear us fine before we get started. Too many important things to cover that I don't want anyone to miss a thing. So just go ahead and give me a little thumbs up or tell me that you can hear us. Can you hear? You can hear it. Okay, good. Excellent.
You're
Excellent.
able to hear Kelly and I okay?
Can you hear them as well? You can hear them as well? They're a little difficult to hear. I'm finding that too. Speak right in. Yep, perfect. Even better. That's why I'm
Sounds
asking.
good.
I think I was having a little bit of a problem.
Okay.
Okay. I just talk very loud, so that's why they can hear me. They're actually hearing me from like my house. That's what's going on. All right. So you guys, let's talk a little bit before we get started on the show. Let's talk for a moment about Lacta Lite because it actually is not really related to what we're going to talk about tonight. And you guys are going to be hearing, all these guys are going to be hearing so much about this for the next few months and beyond. When it comes to breastfeeding. And so, of course, you guys are perfect to work together with me. And that's really why we're here together. But I needed to explain that so they can understand what the connection is.
Sure.
So I'm a first-time mom. About 3.5 years ago, I was sitting in the bedroom pumping and using my cell phone light to try to visualize if there was milk coming out, and Patrick came in.
And it was one of those instances that really gets burned into your memory. And, just seeing how stressed out Kelly was holding up the light, I said, there's got to be something. There's got to be a better way to help you with this. So I actually just went out into the garage, took a pool noodle, little piece of foam, cut a hole in it, and put a thumb light, it's a little keychain light, into the back of her breast shield. And it's the only way I could really describe it is that I could literally see the stress melt off of her face at that instant. And, from from that point on, she started using the little homemade contraption that we came up with, and
every single time I pump, morning, night, in the car, wherever I was pumping, I would use it.
And so just so everybody's clear, because there's people joining us right now, what we're talking about is the product Lacta Lite, which is a little attachable light that goes right onto the breast flange, and that you can light up so that you can see when you've had a letdown. You can see if your nipple's placed properly within the flange tunnel.
That's correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a little video that I just want to show real quick to let everybody see. They all really like video and graphics here, so it's good. I'm going to give them a little video here to see what this looks like in action. So hold on. Hold on, everybody, while I do that. Okay. Come on. Okay. I don't know if you guys are unmuted, so let me hear if I can hear you speaking. Something is wrong again. There we go. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. So that's the Lacta Lite. They're all saying that's cool. You lost the we're back. We're just on delay. We can hear each other here. But it's such a cool little thing to actually be able to see and light up within that tunnel so that you can know that your nipple's placed in perfectly, so that you know that the flange is fitting properly. I'm speaking for you because I'm very excited about it, as you can tell. And especially if you happen to be pumping at night, I would assume this is really great. But even any time to be able to see better.
Right. And one of the things that we hear from some of the moms that are using it is intuitively you would think that during the day you may not need to have something like this. But if you look around, the overhead lighting that you have in your office, at home, at work, wherever you may be, is really not that great. So the Lacta Lite really can help you, better visualize the milk flow as it's coming down. We on our social media accounts, Instagram and Facebook, we get input from these moms and just how much of a difference it makes, during the day, but of course at night. And one of the things that really jumps out is when they say, I can pump in bed. I don't have to get up. I don't have to turn the overhead light on.
Wake the baby.
Wake the baby up. My husband doesn't even know that I'm pumping at night anymore. And we've had some who have commented about how their husband's driving at night. They're on a long road trip, and they don't have to turn on the overhead cabin light. Yeah. And you're not getting the unwanted glances from people driving by you, passers by. Exactly. So it's been kind of interesting to see more and more people chime in and tell the stories of where they're using it and how it's been effective for them.
Someone's asking the question, what are the two different lights for? There were two different.
Yeah. Excellent question. And when we first started off with this, we had different prototypes made with a traditional white light and then also a blue or a black light, because our thought was at nighttime, with the black light especially, back in your roller skating days, you turn on the black lights and everything white would luminesce. So our thought was to have that type of a light that it may make the milk glow, so to speak. And what we found is that some women just simply had a preference for the blue light. It wasn't as harsh as a white light in the middle of the night, and it allowed them to visualize their milk flow, but it wasn't so overpowering. So we just decided to include both of the lights in the setup.
And so the product comes with two in a box, okay, correct, just like that. So you get a little set. obviously, one for each side. And yeah, so this is really great. We'll be talking more about this for sure on some upcoming episodes, and we're talking about breastfeeding. I just really wanted to introduce Kelly tonight too, and have both of you on so we can explain why you're here. And then we're going to be giving away 3 Lacta Lites, right, tonight?
Yep,
3 pairs.
That's correct.
Pairs. Okay, so 3 of you guys, I want to see some hearts going across the screen. If you want to win one of the Lacta Lites, they're going to be generously giving away 3 sets tonight. And of course, we will give a little time for some other people to watch and enter as well. But to enter any of our giveaways tonight, you just, here come the hearts. Can you see the hearts on your phone? You got to look. I love it. You just need to like or love this post, and then just comment here as always, and we'll be picking 3 winners for Lacta Lites sometime this weekend.
And I will be in the chat room answering questions.
So as Dr. Patrick and I move on to our discussion for the evening, Kelly's, like she's saying, is going off screen, and she's going to, but she's not leaving. She'll be in with you guys in the chat room for the rest of the time. And Dr. Patrick and I are going to go into our conversation because we have so much to talk about. I do have one other sponsor I want to tell you about that is actually more related to what we're discussing tonight, and that is Kudos. And I saw them in the chat, so I just want to say hi to them. Thank you guys for being here. So excited to help you launch this amazing new line. And when I say launch, it's because it's the beginning. It's just coming out. It's available. Joe's going to post a link of where the products are available, but they're all kinds of really high quality safety products for baby proofing your home. And we're going to show some of that as we go on with the conversation tonight. And they're actually going to be in stores as of March 10th. And the gates are coming in a couple weeks. So you guys are getting like the preview, first glance at the Kudos line, which is amazing. And we'll talk more about it as we discuss it here. But we've got a big package for you, $150 worth of safety products that we're going to give away tonight to one winner. Yes, hi, Kudos. Thank you guys. Okay, so let's move on. Dr. Patrick, first of all, I'm so happy that you're here. Could you just tell everybody like a little bit about what you do every day so they understand who they're listening to?
Absolutely. So after medical school, all physicians go through and do a residency. And what I chose to do was emergency medicine. So that's a 3-year training program where we become kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, and really learn how to manage, stabilize, diagnose emergent, potentially life-threatening conditions. And that's what our training program is. So we come out, being able to work with, take care of children, adults, men, women, a little bit of everything, orthopedics, OBGYN, a little bit of everything. So I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, and have been in the emergency department or urgent care for almost 10 years now, and see a little bit of everything on a daily basis.
Awesome. Well, you are definitely the perfect person to have this discussion with us tonight. And it's something that, over the years I've talked about quite often. We've done certain different streams and stuff, but not with this particular audience. A lot of the people that are here are new. They have new babies. A lot of them are expecting, or their babies are under a year of age, or toddlers. And so what we decided to do tonight with all of you guys is to really go over like the top 5 or 6 most common, right? The most common accidents, injuries, things that we would see that could potentially go wrong. Oops, see, someone is trying to text me. Hold on. Just threw me off. Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on. See, I lost my stream. I need to go back. Most common injuries that can happen so that you will know how to prevent them. And that's the most important thing, is the prevention.
Yep.
I'm sorry, give me a second here. Yeah, I need help because I can't see just turn my thing back on there. There we go. All right, I don't know why it's starting from the beginning.
It's going to refresh.
Okay, good. I can't see.
Hi, everyone.
I can't see. Fix it for me, please. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with the first one. And what would you say is the first thing that we can talk about here?
I think burns are a good one to start off with. Burns, it really is more about prevention than anything. And, with all the things that we're going to talk about, I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that, our children can't live in a bubble. We can't
Yes.
wrap them in bubble wrap.
Yes.
But we need to be at least mindful of these types of things, and myself included in, some of the examples that we'll talk about. When I was 39 when my first child was born. So got a little bit of a later start. And after practicing medicine for almost 10, 12 years, I quickly realized that when my child is in a situation like that, the doctor brain quickly gets turned off and I panic and have the same thoughts just like all of you. So,
Yeah.
these types of things happen. They happen to me. They happen to my wife. So we're in the same boat with all of you.
Yep.
With burns, burns are relatively common. And one thing I do want to do is just mention a few little statistics for some of these things that we're talking about, just to kind of put them into perspective as to how common they are. And over 126,000 children across the country, and 67,000 of those under the age of 4 are injured and go to the emergency department every year. So it is something that we see, relatively frequently, and really can be devastating.
Absolutely.
So, some things
and
that
lifelong
yes,
consequences.
Yes, they can be very much physically, emotionally, just devastating, and the scars can last forever. And the places where we see most of the burns would be in the kitchen,
yes,
in the bathtub,
yes,
and just with things laying around the house, matches, lighters, gasoline, flammable type things. So, for instance, just within the past month, I took care of a young, probably 3 or 4-year-old child who, mom had made a bowl of spaghetti.
Hold the microphone just a little closer.
Okay, sure. So, a 3 or 4-year-old child who had reached up onto the countertop and there was a bowl of hot spaghetti and spaghetti sauce. And, it got pulled down onto the face and onto the chest with some pretty significant blistering. So the kitchen is definitely an area that we all have to be very mindful. And,
yes,
when the child is learning to crawl, learning to, pull themselves up, just the simple things that we hear, and everybody is probably aware of them, but really trying to be mindful of them, and turning the handles of the pots, back towards the back using just the back burners.
Yes.
Even with grease splatter, grease splatter can come over and cause injuries. As the children are getting older, communicating with them and having kind of a safe zone, and, stay back, whenever mommy and daddy are cooking, you have to stay back. You have to stay back.
Yep.
One of the little pointers that
or even gating off the area while you're cooking.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, another recommendation that I have heard of is, having a high chair with a broad base, so that the child won't tip over, but they can still be in close proximity to you, but not being able to have those little hands and feet moving around and putting themselves in a position where something hot can land on them.
Yeah. I just had a thought as you were speaking about this, as one other thing to consider, because you may be thinking toddlers, okay? But sometimes I've seen people who, are baby wearers, mm-hmm. and they're wearing their babies.
Yes.
And they're cooking while they're wearing their babies. And very, very dangerous to do that. It can splatter, you can spill on the things can happen, and mm-hmm. we've seen that too.
Right.
Where babies are being worn. So you never wear your baby to cook.
Right. And even holding the baby. I mean, talking on the phone, holding the child, talking on the phone, and stirring the pot. I mean, just things that you simply can't do. And I think again, it goes to being mindful.
Yes.
Thinking about these types of things and just having them in the back of your mind to make sure that you're not going to put your child in a position where they can get injured.
It takes a second. Everything that we're talking about tonight, it's like one moment of not thinking, one moment of unconsciousness about this,
Right.
can have lifelong devastating effects for your child, which I know you won't forgive yourself for. You have to stay conscious when they're that young, or even as they get older with other things. But with this, you need to stay conscious all the time, because it only takes a moment for these things to happen.
And I think that these things definitely make that worse. We're getting the text messages, we're getting the email notifications. I'm guilty. We're all guilty of it, but we live in a distracted world now.
Totally.
And when you're in these types of situations, you just have to be mindful.
Yep. I want to show some images of the there's a stove guard, and it's actually part of our prize tonight. It's one of the parts of our safety package from Kudos. So I just want to actually show that to everybody real quick, because this is a really cool product that someone's going to win, but the rest of you can obviously get. Joe's going to put up the link if you want to get any of the products here tonight, but let me show this to you. It's kind of cool. Okay, so as you can see here, this is a guard that actually protects the entire cooking area, all the pots and pans, so that the child cannot reach over and grab anything. I would say that you're still going to follow all the same guidelines that we just spoke about, because, obviously still you want to keep them away from the hot stove and everything. You don't want to get to the point where this little child is reaching up, but at least it gives that one extra layer of protection to be able to hopefully prevent a disaster. So
right. No, it's a fantastic product.
Really cool. Really, really cool. So yeah, that's one of the things that we're giving away in the prize. All of the products there are made with really high quality materials. It's not like a cheap plastic or anything like that. And you could see that you could actually put that one into the dishwasher, which is great.
Yep.
So it comes right apart. All right, fantastic. So there were a couple questions. There weren't that many questions other than tell me everything, but there were a few specific questions I'm going to answer right now, or we're going to bring up. Stephanie asked the question, is there any baby proofing that should be done right away? Or is it safe to wait until the baby is mobile? Like, do they have to think about it until their baby's mobile, or should it be, and I guess one of the things, like we just said, baby wearing would be one of those things. They don't have to be mobile, and they could still be put in harm's way. But what else? What other things would you consider?
I think things like being mindful of where you're putting your child. If you're taking them out of the car, still in the car seat, not putting them up onto countertops. Whenever you're changing diapers, you're on the diaper changing station, make sure that you're using the strap. Because just a quick move, a quick roll, the child can be on the floor. Yeah. So, some of the more, the older age appropriate things like the electrical sockets and things like that, those can probably wait. There are some excellent websites that are out there, the CDC, saferkids.org, things like that, really are able to go through and give you a very comprehensive review of when to do things, what things need to be done, and what order and at what age. So I would really take a look at some of those sites.
I would say that for very young babies, what we're talking about is falls. Like those are probably the when they're not mobile, it's the falls. And I saw somebody here in the chat room, and I was just going to say the same thing. And this is a big mistake that we've talked about before, which is putting your car seats on top of shopping carts. Extremely dangerous. You don't want to do that. You're going to take your car seat. It needs to go inside the cart. It cannot. They're not made to sit on top like that, and they turn right over and have a baby could get really injured.
Right, very much so. And they're strapped in. They're not able to get out. So when they fall, then there's also the suffocation risk if they fall onto something soft. Yeah. And they're strapped in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you hope they fall into something soft, but it's usually a parking lot, which is which is worse. Right. But I hate seeing it too, Janine. When I see it, I have to go over and say something, because people just don't realize. And again, it's literally just lack of knowledge that this is an issue. Many of the things we're going over, people are just do not even think about. And, they're really not taught. They're,
They're not.
unless they're seeking this information, like who's really going over it with them? Are maybe some of the pediatricians, a good one who would take the time to do it, but they're not doing this inside of in the hospital.
No.
They're not doing it anywhere. So.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, the standard physician office visit is what, 10, 15 minutes now. I mean, there's no way to be able to go through all of this stuff, not only with the primary care physician, but in the acute setting, in the emergency department, in, urgent care. We just don't have the time to be able to do that. And there's so much, there really is so much there. So it is, we have to encourage patients and parents to go and do their own research and learn about this stuff, because it's obviously not taught in school, and
no.
You've got to be able to get it somewhere.
I mean, other things I would think of with falls too is making sure that, of course, you're gating off staircases.
Right. Sure.
That's really important. Making sure you're installing all of that. That can wait, I guess, until they're mobile, but then you do want to start gating them, because that could really cause a problem.
Mm-hmm. And I think also, the sooner that you start using the gates, it gets everybody else familiar with them, and it gets siblings, and it gets the parents, it gets the grandparents, everybody else familiar with that and how important it is. But there's, things like, we've talked about, jumping on the bed. As children are getting older, falls really are a very, very common injury that we see in the acute setting. And once again, the statistics, something that was very interesting to me to learn that 8,000 emergency room visits a day for falls related to children. So this truly is one of these things. And this is from one of the websites that I just mentioned, either the CDC or the Safer Kids. Yeah. So very, very, very common. The majority of the injuries are probably minor. But, one that sticks with me was probably a year and a half ago. It was probably a 6 or 8 month old child who was in a high chair, and she was starting to get her leg control, pushed against the counter, went back, and ended up with a skull fracture and a small amount of blood in the brain. And that was a transfer over to the children's hospital. So, these things really, really do happen. And once again, it's being mindful. It's trying to not be distracted. As children are getting older, you're going over to the neighborhood playground. Yeah. I don't think you need to go over with your tool belt and, your flashlight to, inspect everything in such minute detail. But being mindful of, what kind of a surface is it? Is it a concrete surface? Is it the newer, rubber-based chips that can provide some absorbency and things like that?
Totally.
So just being mindful. Being aware of your surroundings, making sure
I think that one of the things that always comes up for a lot of my clients, and I used to go over this, I go over it when I was teaching my live classes all the time, was the idea that, when the baby's first, the newborn, obviously they're not rolling yet and they're not mobile. And so you can get very used to like laying them on a bed to change their diaper. They're not going anywhere. They're kind of on their back. But you never know when that day is going to come when they can roll. It happens all of a sudden. And I think a lot of children do wind up falling off of beds because that's the day they were able to roll, and you don't know what's coming. So you got to be extremely careful with putting your child on any kind of a surface. I want to admit and talk about my own guilt about this, where, walked away for a second and my child did fall off of a changing table, and thank God she didn't break her neck. I'm a terrible mom, but it took literally 1 second. I literally turned my back to grab something. That's all I did. I didn't walk out of the room and leave her there. I turned my back to grab something, and she had fallen into the laundry basket. And luckily I don't do laundry very often, so it did cushion her fall. It was that moment when I thought it's good not to do your laundry very frequently. Right. But it's still not a good excuse. But
I'm laughing because in preparing for this, my wife and I were talking, and we had the exact same scenario. Child was how old was he? A year. Roughly a year or so. And he was on our bed. We were in the bathroom, and literally just looked away for a second, and then you hear the thud, and every visceral emotion you have is running through you, and it's horrifying. But that's all it takes. You're changing a diaper, you go to get a wipe, clean the dusting off your finger or whatever, and the next minute they're on the floor.
So my baby was fine, totally fine, and I was hysterical and inconsolable for about an hour.
Yeah, it is. It's
just
terrifying.
the thought of what could have happened.
Right.
Has anybody else experienced these things? And we're doing true confessions here. So if anybody wants to kind of chime in and just say, yeah, that happened to me, it kind of just speaks to how frequent these things can happen. Thank God, the majority of the time when they do, they're not severe injuries, but it just takes one in the wrong position or the wrong fall in the wrong direction. And you can have a broken neck, broken back, you can fractured skull. I mean, all those things.
I think that's what it has affected me as a physician. And now I watch my son run around, and I'm thinking of what 3 or 4 injuries he's going to end up getting now. And it's like I'm constantly cringing whenever he's running.
It's scary.
It is.
It's scary. I have another picture to show. These are the new gates from Kudos that are coming out. They're not out yet, but they'll be out in just a few weeks. But they're really cool, very well designed. I'm going to show them to you real quick. Let's see here. Sorry. Okay. And so they come in these nice clear. So they've really upgraded these gates now. They're really nice the way they can swing open, and easy latches that that open easily and just go within the doorways, or they'll gate off a room, or they'll gate off the stairs, which is excellent. And those will be available soon. I'm just showing their products because they're just launching and they're very excited about it, and they've got such amazing stuff. So I'm very happy for everybody to get a good picture of it here. Let's see. Next, what do you want to talk? What's the next thing that
I think with Kudos, one of the products that they have is for furniture and TV securement.
Yes,
and
big
that
one.
Is something. So I think that's something.
Let me show them the picture to start with, so that everybody understands what we're talking about. This is so that you can actually secure your dressers and your TVs to the wall, so that they do not fall over on the child, okay? And so this is the furniture straps. And what's really great about these particular straps too is that they're with a very strong adhesive, so that they're not destroying your walls or your furniture when you're using them. So they're very furniture friendly, but it will prevent the furniture from tipping, which is what you want. So let's talk a little bit about tipping here. Sure.
And I think this is something that has gained some more notoriety. And I think just recently on the news, I had seen a little story about I think they may have even been twin brothers, and there was a dresser or something that had fallen on him, and this little baby, 2, 3 years old, whatever, however old he was, went and was able to help lift the piece of furniture up. So it is something that is it's not uncommon. And again, statistics. Sorry for being a dork, but got to talk about the statistics of it.
It's good. Tell us. They need to hear this.
So from some of the stuff that I had read, every 45 minutes a child is injured and goes to the emergency room because of a TV falling on them. So that's probably close to 25 or 30 a day on average across the country.
Yeah.
And sadly, every 3 weeks, one of these injuries results in a child's death. So that's just catastrophic, something that's so easily preventable. That's obviously going to have devastating effects on that family for the rest of their lives. 70% of these are under the age of 5. And again, this is something that I'm in the process of learning about. Only 25% of parents actually secure the TVs in their home to the wall. And, once again, this is, for all of this stuff, it's an educational opportunity for all of us to dig a little bit deeper, learn about it, see what products are available, to, again, make our homes a safer environment for our children, and also for the children that come over to visit you. It's not only your children, it's other children.
Like grandparents' homes. Grandparents should do the same thing in their homes.
Exactly. That's an excellent point. That's one of the treats of childhood is going to spend time with grandparents. And these same discussions need to be had with grandparents. That's an excellent point.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's really, really, really important. It's one of those things that we bring up, every few months on my Facebook wall. I do a little story. I did post the story of the child, who, the twins
Yeah,
on my,
okay.
on my wall. And we talk about it. And every single time I bring it up, there's people who are like, oh yeah, I have all my stuff strapped down. And others who are like, sharing it with their with their partners and saying, we got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you bring up the statistic of only 25%, are actually, is that what you were saying?
Yes, 25% actually secure the TV.
That means 75% of TVs and dressers out there are not strapped to the walls.
Right. And I think that we had gotten some furniture when our son was born, and I think more and more furniture manufacturers are being cognizant of it because there's probably been some massive lawsuits.
Totally.
So they've got some small kits. At least from my recollection, they're not overly elaborate, and there are probably aftermarket options that are much better. But it does seem to be something that's gaining more awareness.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and you think about it, kids are walking around. What do they want to do when they're trying to learn how to walk? They grab and they pull up, and then something heavy comes back on them. And then when they are walking around, they're more mobile. What do they want to do? They want to get higher. They want to get up. They want to get to that vantage point and be able to jump down. So they're reaching and they're pulling on things. They're pulling the doors out.
Opening doors
to use those as steps.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, once again, very simple thing to be able to do. And, again, we can't have our kids in a bubble, but just being mindful and being aware of the surroundings.
Yep. Do you guys have your TV strapped down? Does everybody have your TVs strapped? Or are you going to be getting some straps out for tonight's show and working on it? I'd love to hear from you guys what's going on. I have such a smart audience, though. They're so smart.
They're probably already strapped.
Anyone who's tuning in already is like so aware of the need for this already. So I hope you're sharing this with all of your friends who may not be thinking about this. And this is actually probably one of the most important shows that we're going to do, that I would love to see you support what we're doing by sharing it, because by supporting that, you're supporting everyone to hopefully prevent a catastrophic injury for your friends, your family, all those other things. So this is a perfect one to share out, because sometimes hearing it from a doctor and a nurse makes it a little bit easier to digest, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's see here. What's the next thing? Oh, this was interesting. Let's talk about this for a minute. What was the next thing we were talking about?
With the swinging.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is something that Sharon and I had talked about a little bit, and it's a common thing that we see in the acute setting, and it's called a nursemaid's elbow, and it comes from swinging a child. I don't know if you have that picture of Kelly and I.
I don't have the picture.
That's fine.
I forgot to upload the picture. I'm sorry.
That's fine. So we all do it. Everybody does it. You're playing with your kids and they, lift me up, daddy. And, you swing your kids back and forth. And then the child just starts to scream. They won't move their elbow. They won't let you touch it. And what it is, it's a very minor injury, but it's very, very frightening because, your child is not moving their arm. Oh my gosh, did I break my child's elbow? And it could be something as simple as you're holding hands and they trip and fall and you're holding them. So very minor injury. You can look it up on the internet. It's called nursemaid's elbow. Very easily treated, easy to take care of. But it kind of brings up the question, and Sherry and I talked about a little bit about this. It's, when a child is first learning to walk, there's a tendency to hold their hands up, try to guide them and help them because it's so cute. They're growing up, you're teaching them how to walk. And doing a little bit of research on that, what some of the experts say is that in doing that, you're actually preventing them from being able to walk, because that's how they learn balance and just the nerve pathways that go from the feet through the legs, through the spinal cord, and all the way up into the brain. They are learning that very efficiently. It may not seem like it, but their little tiny steps are very, very important for them to be able to take And if you're holding them up, then that it kind of disrupts it a little bit. So it's one of those things where we all have the tendency to want to do that, but just being mindful of it. And, they're going to learn how to walk. They're going to stumble. They're going to fall. But there could also be some injuries that come from that as well with holding their arms up over their heads.
So it's either when they're first learning to walk or when you're walking hand in hand, maybe with your partner and you're swinging them in between.
Exactly.
That's when.
Hurry up, Johnny, and you pull on their arm.
Pulling them along. Yep. And I see a lot of people in the chat room saying guilty doing that. I mean,
we all are. We all are.
At some point. But again, to be really aware of what can get created with that. Excellent.
Exactly.
Let's go on. We're going to keep going here because we got on a little bit late, and I want to just keep going because I want to get them all this information.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another, I think the other one that we talked about, which is really, really, truly important, is poisoning, ingestion of a substance, and that can be truly poisons like insecticides, gasoline, household chemicals, cleaners, and things like that. But the United States is a pharmaceutical nation, and we've got a pill for every symptom known to man. Sometimes 5 or 6 pills for every symptom known to man. And, with the explosion of the narcotics, anxiety medicine, antidepressants, cardiac medications, and things like that, we really do truly have to be mindful. And this is one of those things where it just simply has to be done, and it has to be implemented in your house, that if you have medications, they need to be at least in the shelf, way out of reach. And then especially as children are getting older and the potential for abuse, keeping the controlled substances like the narcotics and the sedative type medications like Valium and Xanax, they've got to be locked up. They really, really do. And, again, going to the fun statistics, 300 children go to the emergency room every day because of poisonings and ingestions, and there's actually two who die every day. So that's probably over close to 800 childhood deaths every year due to poisonings, and it's just not. I mean, it's devastating to everybody. So doing the simple things, being very mindful, having the secure cabinets, in the laundry room and the garage, having the chemicals, the cleaners, all that stuff. You got to have them up. You got to have them out of reach. Got to have the secure cabinets.
Specifically, I know recently in the news, and we've talked before about this, is the laundry pods.
Yes.
That they've made look like candy.
Yeah. And they really do. They, they're small, they're brightly colored. I don't know why they have to be purple and orange and look like that. Exactly. We're very much a visual population, and we, everything that we want to see it look nice and shiny and pretty. So I think that at least from what I've read, some of the manufacturers are finally catching on to this, and they're making some changes to the packaging. But those are the things. You have to keep them in the original package. You got to keep them secured. You have to keep the cabinets locked or with some kind of a childproof accessory to prevent kids from getting in there. And if there is an ingestion of something like that, I think it's very important for everybody to be familiar with poison control centers and the 1-800 number. 1-800.
You should have it posted.
Yes. Yeah,
right,
and have it programmed on your phone
somewhere, or programmed in the phone.
Everybody here is watching on their smartphone. Yeah, I mean, you can put in as a contact poison control, and just have that available. You can go to their website. They really do have some amazing resources. Available on education, prevention, and another very common thing that we see is two things actually. When grandparents come to visit, have the conversation, talk to them. They're open to it. They don't want to, they don't want their grandchild to get into their medication.
Right.
But it's a different, the grandparents are in a different environment, so it's important to talk to them about it, and just keeping things out of reach. You got to do it. And then,
It's such a good point. It's not only your own home that needs to be baby proofed,
right.
it's your parents' home. So grandparents' home where you're going to be spending time. Um, that really does need to be baby proofed as well. And it's been many, many years since they had babies around.
That's
They may not be thinking about it because they're thinking about the baby being at your home. And then that's where an accident could really happen because you're not necessarily fully prepared for it.
Exactly. Yep. And another important thing is that expired medications. You go to the dentist and you get a prescription, for unknown reasons, why you're getting a prescription for 30 or 40 Percocet for a wisdom tooth being pulled, and then you don't throw them away. They stick around, and you've got all these, half-used prescription bottles. And there's really a big push at pharmacies, and it's another thing that you can easily search on the internet: medication takebacks, and you can bring your medications in. They're able to dispose of them safely and get them out of circulation. So whenever you are done with a prescription, take it back to the pharmacy. Get it out of the house so that it doesn't become a potential risk.
Totally. No, that's a really, really good point. One of the things that let me show everybody what the package is going to include tonight, because there's some other really good products that go especially to what we're talking about right here. And it's the whole package, the safety package that someone's going to win. You could see here there's the guard for the stove, and then the furniture straps. But these are also cabinet hooks and refrigerator locks. And also these door jams, so that little fingers don't get slammed in doors, to keep the doors from slamming shut. And that's going to be the entire package tonight. So that's the package that someone's going to win. And then if everybody else wants to check it out, you can go to the link that Joe posted before. But I wanted to show you guys these really cool little door cabinet locks that would be great for locking up your chemicals, your detergents, your cleaners, and even medications.
Oh, those are fantastic.
They're really nice. They're really, really nice. Great products, really great products. There's not been a lot of innovation in the last 15 years in this whole industry, and this is something brand new that is really, really well made and modern and easy to use. Not like the cheap plastic.
Right.
You want something to not break.
It looks like they're relatively simple to install.
Very simple to release.
Myself,
they're not destroying your furniture. You don't actually have to install things where you're destroying your furniture or your cabinetry or anything like that either.
And for those of us who are not very handy, like myself,
no, they're very easy. They're very, very easy. I was very impressed with them, actually. Awesome. Very impressed. Okay, so let's see here. I think we have one more topic to cover, and this is an important one.
This is small objects really pose for a lot of interesting stories for emergency and urgent care physicians. We're able to remove things from all different places, and we really do get some interesting stories out of it. And in this population, in the young children, they're trying to gain awareness of their bodies, and little tiny GI Joe men, little toys, beads, candies, rocks, twigs, leaves, pretty much anything has been inserted either into the nose, the ears, or being swallowed. So again, you can't remove every small piece of plastic, rock. I'm just looking around the room, seashells and things like that. There's stuff like that in everybody's house. Trying to limit the smaller toys, the toys with 1,000 little tiny pieces, and trying to limit the children's exposure to those types of things. But bottom line, I was thinking about this earlier. If you talk to your child about not sticking something in their nose, guaranteed they're going to stick something in their nose. Right. So it's one of those things
giving them the idea. They're like,
right,
oh,
exactly.
I didn't think of that.
I didn't even think about that. Wow, I could really drive mom and dad crazy here. So it's one of those things where
I would think that it's actually a really important point if you have children of different ages too. So you've got age appropriate toys that may be fine for your 5-year-old who understands how to maybe handle a smaller object, and then you've got an infant or a toddler that is around a toy they shouldn't be around.
Right.
And so making sure that you're separating that out and being really aware of it. And when you
Right.
have your first baby, you know, I always instruct people to actually get down on the floor and like look around from that vantage point. Like you can see things when you're down there that you don't notice when you're
Never
up
even
high.
thought of.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
And I think with these, you know, a couple points that I think may be helpful for parents to hear about and to understand. Sometimes they might be, especially in the ears and the nose, they may actually be putting something in there because there's something bothering them. They may have an ear infection. It hurts. Actually, I had a child just recently who had a rubber band stuck in his ear, and you remove the rubber band and there's an acute ear infection back behind it. So it could be a signal that something else is going on.
Oh,
and
okay.
they're trying to, in their primitive brain, to, you know, alleviate the pain that they've got. So there could be something underlying. Another thing that, you know, I think needs to be at least discussed is it something that has to be addressed right now? You know, it's 11 o'clock at night and your child has, you know, a visible bead in their nose. Do you need to run to the emergency room right now? You know, every situation is different. But you know, if a child's breathing fine and there's no significant distress, you know, use your best judgment. And I think it's, you know, oftentimes it's something that can probably wait until the morning if the child doesn't appear to be in any distress. Because a lot of times, you know, especially in young children, when you're trying to dig around and look into, especially the ears, you know, the child is just absolutely distraught. And with the tools that we have in an emergency department type setting, you may end up causing more trauma. And it may be something where, you know, and sometimes we'll give it a look, we'll give it an attempt, we'll try. And if we're not able to, then sometimes the best thing is to follow up with the ear, nose, and throat doctor, where they can do it with some sedation. They can do it in a more controlled environment.
Yeah. No, that's such good advice because, you know, there obviously if you're ever in doubt, you go. You just
always. And nobody will give you a hard time about it. At least they shouldn't, because you know that's why we're there, and that's why, you know, most emergency physicians and nurses and urgent care type settings, that's why we are there, is to be able to take care of people, because it's you know, it's your child. It's very distressing, and we want to be able to help alleviate that stress from both the child as well as the parents. So totally.
And unfortunately, the visit itself can be stressful. So all of
very
it's
much so.
That's why we want to prevent all of this stuff.
That's right.
Because not going, it's all very stressful.
Yes.
One more thing I wanted to one more point that I wanted to bring up on our last conversation about poisoning.
Sure. Yes.
That I've talked about before too is house plants.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
You know, when we don't have babies and we don't have children, we have all these nice fancy plants. Some of us do. I'm not that great of a green thumb, but some people have plants in their home and they don't realize that those plants are poisonous when ingested. And, you know, and babies will go and eat them. So you want to make sure that if you do have plants in your home, that you know that they are not poisonous plants, and keep them out of reach of your child. I would also say you know, one other thing too is to think about, and maybe we'll talk about this when we come back for the holidays and the holiday time, but Christmas lights and, you know, Christmas trees, pulling down trees on top of it. So these are all things that, you know, are right there in the home and can cause real issues. But we'll talk about that on our holiday episode.
Okay. And I think, you know, for anybody, if you do have any questions, to leave them on the comments, and over the course of the next day or so, I will go in and do my best to answer every question.
That's awesome.
You know, if I don't know something, I'm very quick to admit it. I don't know. Follow up with your primary care physician. So
fantastic. So all of you guys, if you have questions for Dr. Patrick, he's offering, you can leave them here on this thread. He'll go back through and answer questions for you, and hopefully, you know, clarify anything that needs to be clarified. There was one last question. I also want to post, Joe, there, Kudos had actually given us a link for National Registry of baby proofing people.
Okay.
Certified baby proofers throughout the country. I actually clicked on the link. It was very good. It's a full map, so you can actually put in your state, and it will give you people who are certified to come. We actually had that done when we had our first baby. And it may be something you would consider doing. I did this. We actually had someone there. There are certified like people who do this, who come into the home, and what they do is they evaluate all the areas that are a kind of a threat to your child, areas that you wouldn't think of. Like we had banisters on our upstairs with slots, where a child can stick their head between the banisters. And so we had plexi put up against for years. And then once the kids got older, of course, we got Lucky, my dog, who's 4 pounds, and we didn't want him to fall through. So we left the plexi up. But, these are the kind of things that he was able to point out things to us, areas of vulnerabilities in our house that we were not thinking of, and make recommendations. We didn't have to buy everything from him, but at least, anyone who's going to try to sell you everything, be careful of that. But it's really to just point out all the different areas of vulnerability so that you're aware.
That's great.
And every house is different. Every house has different places that could cause a potential injury. So it might be a good thing to check out. I really like that. Thanks, Kudos, for putting that, for giving us that link. I also had a question here from Heather, and Heather asked the question, which I thought was kind of cool. She asked, how do you stop a baby from choking? What is the correct position? And so we talked about this for a moment, Dr. Patrick and I, and it's something that I used to teach a lot of in my baby care classes, and I'm going to show you the basic techniques for choking for a child that's less than 1 year of age, because it does change after they become older. So this is for infants 1 year of age and less, okay? I have my little baby doll here, and I'm going to show you. And of course, what I want you to do is, okay, I'm giving you a very general overview. I would love for all of you to be taking an infant CPR class, and also grandparents or whoever's going to be watching the baby should also be doing a CPR class. It doesn't take long to learn what to do, but when you need it, you want to know what you're doing, and including choking here. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over with you what to do with a choking child. If your child is choking and the child is conscious but not breathing, okay, the first thing you're going to do is call 911. Okay, so that's what you always do First thing you're going to do is before you call 911, you're going to address the child, all right, and then have somebody else call 911. So hopefully somebody's there with you and they could call 911 while you try to first remove what they're choking on. And that goes for CPR as well. It's one of the most common mistakes is to not initiate CPR, but to reach for the phone first. You're losing precious moments of where oxygen is not going to your baby's brain. You want to start chest compressions and do that before you even call 911. That's a whole other conversation. But before that, you're going to take the baby, and as we have shown you, remember my burping video, you guys, where you're holding your baby underneath the chin like that? You're actually going to do it again. So here we got to practice with burping. You are going to hold your baby under the chin and then rest your baby down with their head lower than their chest. You can use your knee to do that. So if you're bending down on one knee, where their head goes lower than their chest like this. So it's hard to show you on the video what I'm doing here. But then what you're going to do is, actually, before you do that, you're going to look at the baby. If you can see what the baby's choking on, if you can actually pull it out, go ahead and pull it out. But you're not going to do that, finger thrust where you go through and try to sweep the mouth. Their mouths are small. Any little pressure inside the oral cavity could actually lodge whatever's in there deeper. So you don't want to go in and try to dig it out. Okay, you could actually push it further down. If it is hanging out, you can go ahead and pull it. But if it's in there, don't stick your finger in the baby's mouth. Put your baby in that downward position And then with the heel of your hand, what you're going to do is right between the baby's shoulder blades, you're going to give the baby 5 back blows like this. And it's pretty hard. You need to do it, firmly, 5 in a row, okay? And then turn the baby over. If it doesn't pop out from doing that, you're going to turn the baby over, and then again, you're going to take your fingers and right here on their sternum, and again, I want you to learn this the right way because I'm going over it so quickly here. It's sort of like you're drawing an imaginary line between their nipples and then putting your fingers right there between, and you're going to do 5 compressions, which are the same kind of compressions that you do for CPR. 5, it's actually going to help to thrust up whatever could be lodged in their trachea. Okay, so you're going to push down 5 times, and then if that doesn't work, you flip them back over again and 5 back blows, and you continue to do that till you see whatever it is come out. Okay, or the baby if the baby does go unconscious, you're going to initiate CPR, which is why it's important to know CPR. Typically that will work, and I actually had to was just about to do that at an airport one day. And then the child was able to not my own child, somebody else's child. And in a restaurant, I actually had to do CPR one time. So it's good to know this on a 93-year-old woman. I'm glad I didn't know how old she was, but she was choking on a piece of meat. And I actually was able to get that up for her. So it's always good to know whether you're going to be a good Samaritan for someone else, but especially if it's your own baby. So, important to know. Please don't use that demonstration right there as your last education about this. This is so that you guys can see there is something that if you didn't know what I was just doing right there, that should be your indication. Like you need a class. You need some instruction on this. And maybe what we'll do is I will schedule a CPR class online if we could possibly do that. So look out for that. If you want to take a CPR class with me, I will put something together where we do a private CPR class. And if you guys want to register and do CPR with me, that'll be the time to do it. So we'll do that another night.
Very good.
Yeah, very good. Well, look, you see how fast this night goes?
I know, flew by.
It flies by. We have given you guys so much information. I want to see some hearts going across the screen. They're saying they want to take a CPR class with me. Okay, Laura, well, I'm going to try to put something together so that we can do that. Yeah. And let's get some hearts. Let's get some love for Dr. Patrick, for all your amazing information. It was so good to have you here with us to talk about.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. This is it's an honor to be here, and we appreciate you guys all the listeners coming in and playing an active role and wanting to learn. It's fantastic.
No, they're all right there, and they're loving it. And I think awesome. That this is not the end. We will do more. As the months go on, we will keep coming back with more and more information.
Sure. And for the viewers, what kind of questions, what kind of topics, with us working with Sherry. What I would like to be able to offer is basically having a physician on call. What kind of things can we come up with, and what would be beneficial to all of your followers. So I would love to.
Totally. Well, they're not shy at all about leaving questions.
All right,
if you
excellent.
Just go look at my wall. They're not shy. They keep me quite busy here, and that's excellent. Fine. And I love that they're so curious and that they want to know and they want to do better, because truly, as parents, that is the sign that, we're doing a good job, is if we're curious and we're aware and we're interested to keep doing more and more to do better and take care of our children, because they are our most precious thing we have. So I just want to thank you very much for being with us tonight. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Kudos. I see you came back into the room. They lost contact for a moment, but they were back. And thank you for your amazing prizes. We have the 3 Lacta Lite sets and the nice Kudos safety package. So we'll have 4 winners from tonight, which is awesome.
Wonderful.
And so all you have to do is like this post. Your comments here will get you an entry. And everybody have a wonderful weekend. Dr. Patrick will answer questions. So if you have them, just leave them right there on the thread.
All right.
Okay. We're going to say goodnight to everybody in the chat room. We love you guys. Mwah. Good night, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.